Picture this. Payday hits, and for about 5 minutes, you feel like you actually have your life together. Then, 2 weeks later, you open your banking app and just stare at the screen. Nothing crazy happened. You didn't go on vacation. There's no massive purchase you can point to and blame. It's just life. A delivery order here. A subscription you forgot about. Rent quietly creeping up again. A few small impulses you didn't think twice about. And your first instinct is usually to feel a little embarrassed. Like you're just bad with money, but you're not. Here's the weird part. If you asked 100 people what's actually draining their bank accounts, most of them would guess wrong. They'd blame the big, obvious stuff. The trip, the nice dinner, the thing they already feel guilty about buying. But that's rarely where the real damage happens. The real leak is way quieter than that. It's smaller, more frequent. And honestly, it's kind of designed that way. So today, we're breaking down 15 of the most common ways money quietly vanishes from your account. And look, this isn't to make you feel bad. Almost everyone is doing at least 7 of these right now without even realizing it. Heck, I've been guilty of way more than 7 myself. But once you see the blueprint, you can't unsee it. And that's usually exactly when things start to change. Before we dive into the list, I want to say something you don't usually hear in a video about money. This isn't actually about discipline. Most personal finance content treats overspending like a character flaw. Like if you just had a little more willpower, you wouldn't fall for this stuff. But I don't buy that. And honestly, I think it's unfair. The things on this list, they aren't accidents. They were built, tested, and relentlessly refined by incredibly smart people whose entire job is to lower your resistance to spending. They aren't necessarily tricking you. They're just making spending feel effortless, weightless, almost invisible. And when a system is engineered to bypass the part of your brain that asks, wait, do I actually need this? Well, that's not a fair fight. You're not weak for falling for it. You're just a normal person living in an environment optimized against you. Here's a perfect example. Think about how it feels to hand someone physical cash versus tapping a card. It's the exact same amount of money leaving your life, but one feels like a real loss, and the other barely registers. That gap between what something actually costs you and what it feels like it costs you is exactly where these traps live. Businesses have understood this friction for decades. The rest of us were just never taught to notice it. And it's not just how we pay. It's the entire ecosystem around spending. It's the checkout screen that only asks you to hit confirm instead of typing out your full card number. It's the countdown timer on a hotel site screaming that 3 other people are looking at your room right now. It's the app that autofills your info. So buying takes one thumbprint instead of a conversation with yourself. None of this is illegal. It's not even necessarily dishonest. It's just optimized, relentlessly, in one direction, toward yes. So, this isn't a shame video. If you get through this list and realize you've fallen for 6, 7, or 10 of these things, good. That means you're paying attention, which already puts you way ahead of the curve. The goal here isn't to make you feel guilty about a pizza order or an impulse buy from last weekend. The goal is to notice the pattern underneath it. Because once you see the pattern, you get something back that matters way more than the money itself. You get your control back. You stop spending on autopilot. And you start spending on purpose. Let's talk about what I call the convenience tax, those sneaky little money leaks that don't feel like spending at all. These first 4 aren't about wanting fancy stuff. They're about not wanting to deal with even the tiniest bit of hassle. Number 1, buy now, pay later. Klarna, Afterpay, you name it. They split your purchase into 4 easy payments. Sounds smart, right? You're just managing your cash flow. But here's what's really happening. Handing over real money hurts. Swiping a card hurts less. And those 4 tiny payments, they barely register. You're not dropping $200 on a jacket. You're paying 4 little $50 ghosts. 6 weeks later, you've got 4 different pay later plans stacking up, and suddenly your paycheck is ghosting you. The apps don't show you the big picture, so it feels like you're not even spending. It's basically a secret credit card with no monthly statement. Number 2, food delivery apps. I'm not saying never order takeout. We've all been there after a long day. But let's be real about what you're actually paying. Delivery fee, service fee, and menu prices jacked up 10 to 20% higher than inside the restaurant. That $15 meal quietly becomes $28. None of the charges feel big enough to say no to, so you say yes. Again. Especially on those tired, stressed nights when your brain's already checked out. Do that a few times a week, and you're basically paying a second invisible grocery bill you never budgeted for. Number 3, extended warranties. You're at Best Buy or Walmart about to buy a laptop or TV, and the cashier hits you with, "Want to protect your purchase for just $79? It sounds responsible. Truth is, these things are crazy profitable for stores because most electronics either break right away, covered by the manufacturer's warranty, or last way longer than the extended plan, or they're obsolete by the time something goes wrong. You're mostly just buying peace of mind for a risk that wasn't that big to begin with. Most people buy it, never use it, and forget about it by the next upgrade. Number 4, bank fees, overdraft charges, out-of-network ATM fees, minimum balance nonsense. These sting extra because you're not even getting anything new. You're just getting access to your own damn money. A $35 overdraft fee on a $20 short? That's one of the most expensive loans you'll ever take, and you didn't even mean to. And of course, it hits hardest when you're already scraping by. Now we move into the fear and uncertainty category. Number 5, lottery tickets and scratch-offs. We all know the odds are terrible, but it's not really about the money. For $2, you get to daydream about a whole different life for 10 minutes. That little hit of hope feels good. The problem isn't the occasional ticket. It's when $2 becomes a weekly habit, and hope quietly turns into a recurring expense that never pays off. Number 6, the wrong kind of insurance. Look, good insurance is important. It protects your family from real disasters. But some agents love selling expensive permanent life insurance to young, single people with no kids and no debt. That's not protection. That's paying a premium for comfort because you're scared of what if. Ask yourself, what exact risk does this cover right now? A good agent will walk you through the math. A pushy one won't. Number 7, rent-to-own furniture and electronics. It looks like a helpful option when you can't swing the full price, but by the time you own that couch or TV, you've often paid 2 to 3 times what it would have cost outright. You're paying extra specifically because you don't want to wait and save. If you can swing it, saving up even a few weeks and buying used almost always wins big. Next up, identity purchases. Stuff we buy because of what it says about us. Number 8, heavily logoed designer clothes. Nothing wrong with wanting nice things, but ask yourself, would I still buy this if they ripped the logo off and nobody knew what it was? A lot of the price isn't the quality. It's the story, the status, the look at me factor. Same question works for cars, watches, even that overpriced coffee you post about. Number 9, buying a brand new car. The second you drive it off the lot, it can lose 20% of its value. You didn't break it. It didn't get worse. You just paid for the brand new smell and the title of first owner. A 2 or 3-year-old car with the big depreciation already taken has already done the hard part and will get you to the same places for a lot less money. Number 10, the Diderot effect. French philosopher gets a fancy new robe, and suddenly his whole house looks shabby. He ends up replacing everything to match. Same thing happens today. Buy one nice couch, and the rug looks terrible. Get a new car, and your clothes and garage suddenly feel off. One purchase quietly recruits 5 more. The move is to notice the feeling and wait a week. Most of the time, The rug looks fine again. Then we've got the invisible leaks, the small stuff that never feels like real spending. Number 11, subscription creep. Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, gym memberships, that free trial you forgot to cancel 8 months ago. Each one is only $8 or $12. Stack them up, and you're spending vacation money every year on stuff you don't even remember having. If you invested that $50 to $60 a month instead, time would do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Number 12, only paying the minimum on credit cards. This one has brutal math. $5,000 balance at 20% interest. Paying just the minimum can take over a decade, and you'll pay almost as much in interest as you borrowed. The minimum payment is designed to keep you in debt, not get you out. Even bumping it up a little each month changes the game. Number 13, defaulting to name brands. Sometimes the brand is worth it, but a lot of the price difference is just the halo effect. Fancy packaging and ads making us assume it's better. Next time you're in the aisle, do a quick blind test or price comparison. You might be surprised. And finally, the emotional ones. Number 14, buying something just because it's on sale. Stores love anchoring. They show you $100 crossed out and $60 on sale, and your brain screams, deal. Even though you never planned to buy it, you didn't save $40. You spent $60 on something you didn't need. Quick test. Would I buy this at full price on a random Tuesday? Number 15, emotional spending. Hard day at work. Fight with your spouse. One of those heavy blah afternoons. You buy something and get that little dopamine hit. It's real, but it's short. The stress is usually still there an hour later. Now with a receipt, and sometimes buyer's remorse on top. You weren't weak. You just reached for the nearest comfort. The real need was usually something else. There you go. No judgment, just awareness. Most of this stuff isn't about being stupid. It's about how our brains are wired and how companies are really good at exploiting that wiring. Spot the pattern. Pause for a second, and you'll keep more of your money without feeling deprived. Here's where we need to shift gears, because listing 15 ways your money quietly vanishes can start to feel a little bleak if we just leave it there. And that is not the point of this video. The real turning point here isn't a trick, and it's not some hidden financial hack. It's a shift in how you think about spending altogether. See, most people think about money in terms of restriction. Cut this, skip that. Deprive yourself of the things that actually make life feel good. Under that framing, saving money always feels like a loss, like something is being stripped away from you. No wonder it never sticks. But there's a totally different way to look at everything we just talked about. None of these 15 things are inherently bad. Ordering delivery, buying something nice, treating yourself after a brutal week. None of that is a mistake. The problem was never the spending itself. The problem was spending on autopilot. It was letting a system engineered to lower your resistance make the choice for you, instead of making it yourself. Once you actually see the mechanism, once you understand the pain of paying, the anchoring, the identity traps, and the fear dressed up as responsibility, something shifts. You stop asking, should I never buy anything ever again? And you start asking a much smaller, much more useful question. Am I actively choosing this? Or is this just happening to me? That single question will do more for your financial health than any budgeting spreadsheet ever could. Why? Because it puts you right back in the driver's seat, without forcing you to give up the things that actually matter to you. And here's the quieter, more important part. This was never really about the money anyway. It's about anxiety. A lot of the low-grade financial stress people carry around every single day isn't caused by one big, catastrophic mistake. It's caused by dozens of small, unexamined ones happening quietly below the surface. They add up to a number that feels terrifying, mostly because you've never looked at it directly. But the moment you look, really look, at where your money is going, the fear shrinks. Not because the number magically changes, but because uncertainty is almost always scarier than reality, whatever that reality turns out to be. I think that's the one thing nobody really tells you about money. It's not primarily a math problem. It's a peace of mind problem wearing a math costume. Two people can earn the exact same income, and one of them feels completely calm, while the other feels like they're constantly one bad week away from total disaster. And the difference between them usually isn't the number on their paycheck. It's just how much of their spending they can actually explain if you asked them to. So, what do you actually do with all of this? I want to keep it realistic, because the answer isn't some extreme joyless budget where you track every single cent for the rest of your life. Nobody sustains that. Frankly, nobody should have to. Instead, start smaller. Once a month, pick one afternoon, sit down, and actually open your bank and credit card statements, not to judge yourself, just to look. You're hunting for exactly two things: recurring charges you completely forgot existed, and one or two purchases that surprise you when you see them again. That's it. Most people find at least one subscription or fee in the first 5 minutes they didn't even remember agreeing to. Next, for anything that isn't truly urgent. And be honest with yourself about what urgent actually means. Give it a short waiting period before you hit buy. 24 hours for something small, maybe a week for something bigger. This isn't about denying yourself. It's just about reintroducing that tiny bit of friction that convenience apps have quietly stripped away. If you still want it after the waiting period, go ahead and buy it. But more often than not, you won't even remember what it was. For anything financed through buy now, pay later, try mentally converting it back into one single number instead of 4 small installments. Ask yourself, would I say yes to the full price all at once, right now? If your answer changes depending on how the payment gets split up, that is incredibly useful information about the purchase, not about you. For the identity-driven purchases, the clothes, the car, the things we buy to say something about who we are, there's no need to swear off nice things. Just get curious about the desire itself. Ask, would I still buy this if I were in a room with absolutely no one else to see it? Sometimes the honest answer is yes, and that's completely fine. Sometimes it's no, and that is just as useful to know. And when it comes to emotional spending, the retail therapy after a brutal day, the goal isn't to eliminate it entirely. It's to notice the pattern without beating yourself up over it. A rough day deserves comfort. It just doesn't necessarily require a receipt. Sometimes the comfort you actually needed was never for sale in the first place. Look, none of this works as a one-time event. The first time you do a personal money audit, it might take an hour and feel a little uncomfortable, especially if it's been a while since you looked closely. That's totally normal, and it passes fast. By the 3rd or 4th month, it stops feeling like an audit at all. It just becomes something you do. The same way you glance in a mirror before leaving the house, not out of anxiety, just out of habit. None of this requires extreme discipline or some dramatic overhaul of your entire life. It just requires attention, applied consistently in small amounts, over time. And that is a much more sustainable trade than most people realize. If you made it this far and recognized 7, 8, or 10 of these traps in your own life, take a breath. That is not a failure. That is just what it looks like to live inside an economy that has spent decades getting extremely good at making spending feel effortless. You were never competing on a level playing field. And the fact that a few of these caught you just means you're a normal person living a normal life. What changes now isn't your income. And it isn't some dramatic new willpower you didn't have yesterday. What changes is that you can finally see the mechanism, and once you can see it, you get to choose, instead of just reacting. That is the entire difference between money controlling you and you controlling it. Not a bigger paycheck, not a stricter budget, just a little more awareness, applied gently, over and over, until it becomes how you naturally think. You don't need to fix all 15 of these this week. Just pick one. Maybe it's that one subscription you're finally going to cancel. Maybe it's setting a waiting period before your next online order. Or maybe it's just noticing the next time you reach for a purchase because of how your day went, rather than what you actually need. One small shift, repeated consistently, will always outperform a perfect plan you abandon after 9 days. At the end of the day, money isn't really about the number sitting in your account. It's about how much peace you feel when you actually open the app to check it. And that peace was never going to come from being perfect. It comes from paying attention a little more today than yesterday, and a little more tomorrow than today. None of this happens overnight, and it isn't supposed to. You're probably still going to order delivery sometimes. You'll probably still buy something just because of how it makes you feel. And that is completely fine. You're a person, not a spreadsheet. The difference, from here on out, is that you'll know why you're doing it. And knowing why is the whole game. It's the difference between money quietly happening to you and you quietly, calmly deciding what happens to it. That's it. That's the whole thing. So, that's it for today. If you find this video helpful, make sure to subscribe my channel. This is Sophia, and see you in the next video.